Welcome to Thrivin at the Beach podcast. I'm Peggy Masterson, and I'm delighted to be your host. I am the director of the Partnership Grand Strand Foundation, and in case you haven't heard about us, we are the nonprofit foundation that is an extension of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. Partnership Grand Strand was created by local businesses to serve local businesses, and we serve everyone across all 14 communities that we often and fondly call the Grand Strand. Our work puts us in a unique situation where we get the opportunity to collaborate and support many of the organizations that are busy building a better tomorrow in our area. This gives us a wonderful opportunity to collect the details surrounding these growth initiatives and then share them with you. That's really why we created this podcast. There's so much amazing work, we just had to find a way to get it out to you. I could not be more excited to be able to facilitate a way for our guests to tell you their stories, to share the initiatives that they're working on, and give you a peek under the tent on what's coming to our community. I hope you'll catch this wave of momentum and then share it with others. So let's dive right in. And today's episode is going to be all about sustainability and internships, and both of which we know are very important to long-term growth. But it'd be interesting, and we'll learn today about the connection between the two, the notion of sustainability and internships. But both are super important to long-term growth. Our guest today is Dr. Pam Martin. And whether you know it or not, the Coastal Carolina University has a Resilience, Innovation, and Sustainability Education Center. Now, that's a mouthful, I know, but it's short for, or we use the acronym RISE to be able to talk about the program, and Pam will be able to fill us all in on the details of what the program does and all of the wonderful things that they're doing to fuel sustainability as well as develop a lot of our students at Coastal University. So before we get into the details about RISE and what Pam does, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Pam is originally from New Jersey. She has been an educator her entire adult life, and she has spent a good deal of time internationally, particularly in Ecuador. She loves hiking and running. She and her family have hiked all over the world from the equator all the way to Iceland, and not via direct route, obviously. She loves nature, and I'm guessing that has a great deal to do with her professional focus on sustainability. Nature's important. We have to be able to protect it if we're going to continue to sustain over time. So Pam, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Peggy. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And as we kind of get started, I love to kind of ask guests to tell us a little bit about your journey. We know you spent some time international, but tell us a little bit about how you ended up ultimately arriving here in Myrtle Beach and how you are in the role you are in today.
I don't think that anyone who knows me thought that I would ever wind up in Myrtle Beach. And I feel very fortunate that I did. And for a number of reasons, this program at the top of those reasons. But actually, I studied international relations. I went to undergrad in New Jersey and graduate school at the University of Maryland. And in graduate school, I probably traveled 40,000 miles a year doing research projects on various projects, studying civil and ethnic conflict, which at the time, sustainable development was a relatively new field. I didn't realize it, but that's what I was studying. And then I did some internships in the government and eventually wound up having a graduate fellowship to do my dissertation research on oil companies in the Amazon.
Oh, my.
I spent the better part, so energy is part of the work we do at the RISE Center, and I spent the better part of my career, probably the half of my career at Coastal, researching and publishing on oil extraction and indigenous communities and the nexus of the two, the balance of sustainability, so the balance of economic growth and community growth, and protecting our natural resources for half my time. And so I really came to the Myrtle Beach, Grand Strand area vis-a-vis Ecuador. I had that research fellowship, and then I continued working at the University of San Francisco, Quito, Ecuador. And in the interim, somewhere along that way, I did my master's work on the European Union and spent some time in Europe. So
Wow, how
it was
fascinating.
circuitous, but I will tell you that mother knows best. My mom introduced me to my husband, and he lured me to the Grand Strand.
Ah! All right, so he has spent most of his life in the States then, am I guessing?
He has spent most of his life in the States, but also not in the Grand Strand. He's a business owner in the Grand Strand and has been for, I don't know, 40 some odd years. But he and his family moved over 20 times around the U.S., and he came to the Grand Strand from California.
Interesting. We're hearing more and more of that, individuals that are coming from the West Coast and discovering Myrtle Beach. So he's one of the many, I think, that are coming this way. That's really awesome. I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've just learned more about you in this last 5 minutes than I had known before. So thank you for sharing that.
As you get older and have children, your story becomes less exciting.
Yeah, we kind of cut right to it. We're just like, well, this is what I'm doing today. Well, yeah, but so many of those experiences that you just briefly glazed over, what strikes me is it has uniquely prepared you for the role that you're in right now. I mean, an individual that hadn't had the interest to pursue the fellowships you talked about, the research that you've done, wouldn't have, I don't think, the same qualifications and depth and breadth of knowledge to be able to actually lead this team that you're currently leading over at Coastal. So we're lucky to have you here in this Grand Strand area.
Well, I feel great to be here. I'm very happy to be here.
So you mentioned that you had done research kind of related to the oil business, and I know very little about the oil business. I will say that up front. But what I'm getting at is I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit about your passion for sustainability. Where is that coming from, and why are you so committed to it today?
Well, I'm sure many listeners moving here from New Jersey will understand that I actually grew up on the coast of New Jersey. My family's from the northern part of New Jersey, Jersey City, Bayonne, but I grew up at the beach in New Jersey, so I always had a connection to nature. But to be honest with you, I never appreciated it. I didn't realize how important that was to me. And I didn't come back to that connection until I won a Fulbright scholarship to study Quechua, which is a Native American language, when I was in graduate school conducting my research, because I recognized if I really wanted to understand how oil companies relate to communities, I needed to be able to talk to communities. And at that time, a lot of political science research was being done via statistics, but not via talking to real people. So I was fortunate to get a Fulbright scholarship to learn Quechua, and I lived in indigenous communities in the Andes, and it opened my eyes to the deep connection that those communities had to nature, and how powerful that was, and how we should all be opening our eyes to that, and how nature was changing right before them and changing their way of life. And of course, at that time, I was also working in the Amazon, and how the Amazon was being deforested and changing, and those are the lungs of the earth. It really changed my perspective on how A, we're all connected, B, how no matter how wealthy or poor you are, we can all learn from one another, and C, there needs to be a balance. We certainly all drive cars. I drove one here. But we also need to be able to support industry, but also support our natural resources that ultimately support all of us. And so really it was vis-a-vis a Fulbright opportunity to live in a very small indigenous community called Peguche that opened my eyes to this.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so well spoken, too. I mean, when you talk about the fact that we are all together, right? We're all together in this world. And the fact that we have to find a balance. And what I also thought was interesting is, and I could relate personally, we don't often, like you mentioned when you were in New Jersey, that you didn't take the kind of nature or the benefits of what you had around you. You didn't take it, or you took it for granted, I think was what you said. I think we do the same thing here. And I know as you and BJ get to talking a little more about the RISE program in detail, I know that is a component of the future that has to be addressed, and that it is becoming increasingly more important for our young professionals and our students. And I love the fact that you're providing that intersection for them to, what you do is not only educating the students, but it's also educating the employers, right? And until we start to get to the point where we both realize that everyone's responsible, for what the world, what the earth is going to be like in the future, I don't think we'll be able to begin to try to really solve things. So
I think a sustainable community is, we already have it in the Grand Strand. It's just a matter of recognizing it and bonding together even further to make it even stronger. When I always say this, and I don't mean to be cliche, but when I go to a baseball field or a soccer field and I see the backs of the T-shirts of the kids that are out there, my son was one of them, it's all small businesses in our area. We don't function without the business community supporting a more sustainable community. Supporting our youth is supporting a sustainable community. Supporting being able to get outside in fresh air is supporting a sustainable community. And that's what our local businesses have already been doing. What we're doing in terms of the RISE Center and this workforce development program that we have with Partnership Grand Strand is simply expanding that to a whole other professional level. We know that over 70% of people between the ages of 25 and 45, they will pay more for sustainable products. They want to work in a workplace that cares about being sustainable. And so with that knowledge in mind, we don't only have to train businesses to be more sustainable, but we need to train employers to help their train employees rather to help their employers be more sustainable, and then to attract a new workforce to our area and to attract a clientele to our area. And so I think having sustainability enmeshed with a workforce development program, it's really the wave of the future, and statistics are telling us that green skills are the skills of the future. And by 2030, we're going to have a gap in those who are trained in those skills and those whom we can employ.
And what exactly is a green skill? Just so we're clear on.
So sustainability is people, planet, and prosperity. Those are the three pillars of it. Caring about our social aspects. I walked in the building here at the Chamber of Commerce, and you all had a fundraiser going on for children here today. So it's caring about our people, caring about our employees. It's planet, caring about our natural resources. I'm essentially down the street from the ocean right now, and I think we all care about our natural resources, our rivers, our ocean here in the Myrtle Beach area. And then there is prosperity. Everyone needs to have a decent living wage. Everyone needs to be employed and be able to support themselves. And those are the three pillars of sustainability. And so a green skill is essentially giving skills to the workforce that helps the workforce understand how to support that with an employer, whether it is in jobs in healthcare, for example, that instead of instead of throwing away your trash in a regular trash bin, maybe we help our healthcare facilities think about how we can recycle, because we know in healthcare we have to have plastics. That's a must because it's part of being hygienic. Maybe it's also helping employers think about new ways to benefit their employees, because that's a retention feature, and so on and on. And so creating these green skills is training a workforce to have 21st century ideas for attraction and retention of the workforce.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you explained that, because I think when folks hear green skills or they hear sustainability, their mind goes in one direction and one direction only, which is save the planet kind of a thing. And I love that definition because it broadens the definition for anybody that's listening, and it also provides the direct linkage to talk about our workforce piece. And for those of you that are listening, BJ Beaver is here with me today, and he is the individual that is leading Partnership Grand Strand's work in the area of workforce. He's also overseeing small business as well. But he is closest to this program and working with Dr. Pam Martin. So I'm going to let him kind of take it from here and really kind of ask Pam some questions that'll help you better understand all the great work she's doing.
Thank you, Peggy. And Pam, so great to have an opportunity to chat with you in more detail. I know we've been doing great work over the last, let's just call it 2 years, 18 months. I want to kind of pick up that notion that you guys were just talking about as far as sustainability. And it almost sounds like the your explanation sounds like the way I was classically trained or academically trained, I should say, on corporate social responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a linkage between the two? Do you see like sustainability being the new version of corporate social responsibility?
It is. Corporate social responsibility is a piece of it. That's a factor of being a sustainable company. The other factors are a company that cares about its natural resources, and so that might be simple as changing out your lights to LED lights, which anyway saves on your electricity bills. And it also is a company that cares about decent living wages for its employees, treating its employees with respect, etc. I think in essence, sustainability is a lot of common sense. The the issue of sustainability in the corporate world right now is the SEC and a number of the European Union, a number of other regulatory bodies are really creating new mechanisms to measure sustainability like never before. And that is a piece, I think, of value added of the Youth Corps. And of course, I should say that we call our paid internship program the Youth Corps. And I call it a youth corps because it's not just, I'm really particular about this, it's not just a paid internship, it's a program. And BJ, you've been instrumental in helping push this forward with me. And so part of that programmatic approach is an approach on training students on how to measure the sustainability for corporations so that they learn the 21st century frameworks that are legal frameworks that are being mandated. And if not mandated, there's certainly good practices, not only measuring that, but then helping companies communicate that out to the public so the public knows all the good in the community. So it is an expansion of corporate social responsibility, pushing just a little bit further.
Awesome. And I know earlier you said that you're seeing that young professionals are more inclined to engage with companies that have resiliency policies. Do you feel like that is a competitive advantage from a workforce perspective and from a trying to acquire talent perspective?
100%. So I was just doing some research on looking at retention and recruitment mechanisms for some of the industries in our local area. And healthcare, of course, given the demographics of our area, healthcare is an important industry, and we happen to have a new college dedicated to that at Coastal Carolina University. And when I started doing some research on recruitment and retention, sustainability popped up to the top of the list. That many of the people being recruited to the healthcare industry are looking for institutions that have sustainability policies, and that it is sort of a value. It's not just a value added. It's one of the things that is a mark of difference for their selection of their future employers.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to circle back because we talked about the Youth Corps a little bit. Would you mind just kind of walking us through in more detail what the Youth Corps program is and really how it separates itself from just a standard summer internship?
Sure. First of all, I would say that the Youth Corps models best practices globally and in the United States for recruitment and retention for a workforce development program. And the Youth Corps is built upon the notion that we don't just build someone to be an employee, we build them and we invest in them to be a member of our community and a leader in our community. And so, with those pillars in mind, the Youth Corps is a program that, first of all, exposes our students, because some of the students, you can be a student applying to this program. We've had students from University of South Carolina, from Clemson, from Winthrop, from William and Mary, from University of Pittsburgh. And so you can be a student from anywhere and apply to this program. And so, first of all, we expose all students, even Coastal Carolina University students, to our environment here because we have a wonderful quality of life. Many of the students that come to Coastal, they're in semester, they don't get a chance to see all that we have to offer. And so, thanks to you and Partnership Grand Strand, we take them on a number of excursions. We also give them the opportunity to talk to our local leadership. That's really unique. They're not just going to one place of employment. Last summer, we got to speak to the mayor of Myrtle Beach. She happens also to be a business owner. And it was really powerful for the students to see that from the top upper echelons of the community, there's support for young people staying here. So first we take them to see the quality of life. Then we have a piece that is the sustainability piece, in which we train the students on how to measure the successes of the company in which they are working and how to communicate those successes in the categories of people, social, planet, natural resources, and prosperity, economic development for our community. And then the Youth Corps program, the RISE Center, we put that on social media so that we not only thank our sponsors, but we also let everyone out there know what our sponsors are doing in those areas. And students gain those very useful 21st century sustainability metric skills. And then lastly, and I say it lastly, but it's the most important piece for our employers, we give our employers not just any intern, an intern that has applied and been vetted in a competitive process to develop career skills in that specific company. And so those students in the summertime work 37.5 hours a week in a company gaining career skills. And BJ, you're very involved in mentoring our students and talking to them about leadership and networking and all of those other important, I don't like to call them soft skills anymore. The real term today is social emotional skills, but I'll just call them real skills.
Those are very important, right?
Yes.
You know, and it's changing. It's evolving. Soft skills, essential skills, interpersonal skills. But like you said, those real skills that students are developing during their time with you is so critical, because I would love for you to talk about what you guys are doing in the classroom, because again, the program's not just a internship experience, but you are actually educating them in the classroom once a week. Can you talk about some of the topics that you guys cover in the classroom?
Sure. So it's really important, I think, when you're working for a company to embed that company into the community, because that company contributes greatly. And so what we do is we take the Sustainable Development Goals, which are goals that have been founded by the United States and all 193 countries in the United Nations, but they are the goals by which companies measure their success in sustainability. And each class period, we break down a goal and we look at it via the lens locally. So, for example, we take the strategic plan for the city of Myrtle Beach, and we break that down via economic development, via natural resource protection, and we align that with what the company is doing. So, how does your company look inside this plan? How is your company a part of this community, and how does it contribute to this? It really opens students' eyes to the fact that companies do not operate in isolation of a community. They operate in tandem with a community. It also opens up students' eyes to future planning of our community. It's really exciting what's going on in Myrtle Beach right now with all of the Downtown Alliance and the development that's going on, attraction for new industries and new employers. Students wouldn't know about that if we didn't read about that vis-a-vis sustainable development. And so while we are learning about those career skills, we're learning about sustainability. No, the planet will not be sustainable if we don't do sustainability at a local level. And so this isn't a program that tries to tell students how to do things from some international organization on high. It's the reverse. We look at things via the local lens and how what we do locally, we're not just doing it to measure up. Hopefully we're doing it to be a model.
That's awesome. So with all that being said, where do you see the future of the Youth Corps program going?
Well, I would love the future of the Youth Corps program to expand. I would hope that employers see the value in this program and that we have a waiting list for employers. We certainly have a waiting list for students. I'm very pleased to report that we had 100 applications. We have a spring program. We had 100 applications for 20 positions. And I certainly have a number of students clamoring for the Partnership Grand Strand Rise Youth Corps program this summer. I've already, in fact, driving here, I had a student call me. I had a conversation on the phone with a student talking about opportunities. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal that cited Coastal Carolina University as a school that is very attractive to students coming from other places. And Amanda Craddock, our vice president of admissions and recruitment for the university, she cited trailing parents. I have also seen parents who have retired here and brought their families, and now we have trailing students. I think that we're going to see, we've had a 55% brain drain in South Carolina for graduates from universities leaving South Carolina. I think we are going to see that reverse, and it's programs like this that will help keep those brains in the Grand Strand.
Well, we're looking forward to that. We're optimistic for those days for sure. Maybe I can retire early if that's the case.
BJ's one of those brains.
I am one of those brains. Limited capacity at times, but when it's in full gear, watch out, world. So, so I know we spent some time talking about the Youth Corps program, but are there other initiatives that you're excited about that are on the horizon that you're currently working on?
Yes. So the RISE Center tries to bring all the sustainability initiatives we can that are at the forefront out there for our companies. And currently we're offering an opportunity in the spring. We're conducting a B Lab. A B Corp, a B Corporation, is a benefit corporation. It was actually signed into law in South Carolina by Nikki Haley. But B Corps are Lululemon, Patagonia, Fair Harbor, Warby Parker glasses, all the cool kid brands. And I see no reason why our Myrtle Beach Grand Strand community can't be part of the cool kid brands. A B Corp, in all sincerity, is a very rigorous sustainability certification for a company. It aligns with all the major global and national certifications, including those that are going to be required by the SEC. So it's just good form to do this. So what we will do in class in the spring is we will ask companies to essentially sponsor a student group that will work for that company and start it depends on where the company is in measuring sustainability. If they're somewhere down the road, we might be able to obtain B Corp status for them. But if they're not, it's an excellent opportunity for a corporation to go through the assessment process with students who are trained and then produce a report. And that would be the first sustainability report that they can communicate then to the company. This is an extremely low-cost venture for a company. We're asking companies to donate to the university anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500, depending on the net revenue income of the company. So we do scale that depending on size of company. And we're going to have groups of 4 to 5 students working with the companies to do this. So it's not the company having to do extra work. It's the students doing the work for the company and then giving them a product that they can communicate out.
That's awesome. And my workforce hat goes right back on now. And it's like that's another retention opportunity or attraction opportunity for students working with the companies to be able to seek employment with them after producing a great report to them. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. It's an excellent workforce skill. In fact, sustainability reporting is on the rise because the European Union just passed their Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. It's called the CSRD. And they are requiring that even suppliers to the European Union report on that. That's going to impact our industries in the Grand Strand and elsewhere in South Carolina, but all over the United States. And so we're seeing an uptick in companies coming to in fact, I have a company not from the Grand Strand that is a national company asking me, are we training any students in this? They'd like to hire them. They need the help because people my age, which is mid-50s and older, but certainly even people in their 40s, our generation wasn't trained in this. It really wasn't around. And so it's really young people that are going to take the reins of this entire career field.
Awesome. So when I think about the small businesses in our community, is there a method for them to be aware of the certifications that you're offering through the RISE Center?
Yes, they can go to www.coastal.edu/RISE and click on any of the links there. that will take them to all of the programs that I mentioned, very specifically the Youth Corps program. I certainly hope that they'll take a click on it and in the future see their own company listed as a sponsor.
That's awesome. Well, Pam, I thank you for your time and super excited for the future of the Youth Corps program and the B-Class programs, and really excited to be able to work with you and continue our partnership.
Thank you, BJ. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I
we
hope
forgot,
that
we forgot to mention something. Can we mention something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask me a question on what happens when an employer does sponsors an internship, so I can tell them that we do
the
all
steps.
the HR,
Yeah.
we do all
Yes.
the payroll.
Yep.
Ask me a question on that, because I think if there's an employer listening, they'll want to know that. I don't know how you can work that in, Frankie,
I
but
can probably put it like somewhere towards the middle. I'll put it where it makes sense, but I'll probably have to ask you guys as well for some assistance on that.
No problem.
maybe just ask me a question on if employers are interested. Let's see, something on.
I got my question. I got you.
You got it?
Yep,
Okay,
you line it up.
good.
So, Pam, just talking hypothetically, if I'm an employer and I'm interested in participating in the Youth Corps program, what should I expect from you? What should I expect from your team?
Sure. So the first thing I will do is send you a sheet that has a link on it to a very brief, very easy to fill out Microsoft form. And that form just asks simple questions like, who is the signatory for your company, and email, address, etc. Importantly, on that form has a job description. You can put anything on there, whatever the duties are, the majors, the career skills, a special schedule maybe that you are going to require. Maybe there's a certain type of testing, blood test, etc. that is required. You put that all there. From there, you literally do nothing else. I advertise it, we go all over campus, we send it to other campuses, we vet the applications, send you whatever you want. Generally, it's the top 3 to 5 applicants, and based on your criteria. You can interview the applicants however you like. Some employers prefer Zoom, some prefer phone, some prefer in person, etc. If you want to just do resumes, that's your choice. All you then need to do is tell me, Pam, we select X student. And from there, Coastal Carolina University will do all of the human resource, all of the payroll. So we pay the students. They become employees of the university. You are the employee supervisor. That means that you don't have to subsume all of the work of the HR and payroll. When they do HR, they do a background check on each student. And then students take a class with me, so their student liability falls in that category as well. So we are a full service program so that we support the employers, and that's a service the university provides.
Awesome.
We're good?
Good there.
So I just want to make a couple closing statements. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. I do, and I'm so grateful for the fact that you're so open and so willing to share the knowledge and the experience that you have. I think that's, to me anyway, I'm energized. I'm kind of enlightened and encouraged by that, and I think that what you shared today is the kind of thing that should open a lot of employers' eyes. Any small business owner that hears what you have to say about the trends and about the upcoming expectations that are going to be required in the future needs to start now to be able to recruit these young students that have this training, this expertise, and this talent, so they're prepared, right, in the future. And, the whole purpose of this podcast is to talk about, future prosperity, future growth, that kind of thing. And I'm so glad we got a chance to really dig into sustainability, understand how broad it is, and to really talk about how small businesses, which are the heartbeat of our entire economy, especially so here in the Grand Strand, to help them get better prepared, for them to know that there are resources right in their backyard through Coastal, that they can go get the talent that they need. And we hope that all of them will sign up for a Rise intern this summer. And Partnership Grand Strand is proud to be a supporter of this program. We do subsidize most all, I guess, of the scholarships that are going to be made available, all of the interns. So there is a small cost to the employer, but it is probably the best deal in town in terms of getting a high quality candidate that is uniquely trained and that is going to fuel your business and position it for the future. So thank you for all you do, Pam. We appreciate you, and we hope that you'll come back and talk to us again soon.
I sure will. Thank you so much, and thank you to Partnership Grand Strand.
Awesome.
In 3, 2, 1.
It was so cool to know that Coastal Carolina University has an entire academic program focused on resilience, sustainability, and innovation. In talking with Pam today, it's clear that she and her team are preparing our future workforce and preparing them in such a way that they will be well versed in these critical topics that are going to affect everyone as we look to the future. I always leave a conversation with Pam with a more global perspective on things. And I think we should be very grateful that we have someone with her depth and breadth of experience developing tomorrow's employees. I also thought it was really interesting to learn that it doesn't sound like it's going to be very long before all companies are going to be required to meet some form of corporate sustainability standards. And to know that there is a group of educators under Pam's leadership that are preparing tomorrow's workforce to help us get ready for that is a comforting feeling. So, as we close this podcast, I just want to say I hope you'll consider applying to host one of our upcoming RISE internships. I don't think you'll be disappointed. These students are top-notch, and I think you'll have a wonderful experience. But until then, be resilient and keep on thriving. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the info that we've shared today. And if so, please be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any of our future updates. We also welcome any comments, shares, or reviews. But until next time, we hope you stay well and keep thriving.